Hi, folks. We are proud to welcome back in to the Steve Malzberg Show once again, Larry Sabato, director of the University of Virginia Center for Politics, who wrote a great piece at Politico Magazine. But he's also, his latest book is the Kennedy Half Century, and we did a great interview with him about that late last year. Hello, Larry. Welcome back.
Thank you so much, Steve. Hope you're faring well down there.
Yeah, you know, it's just cold. That's all I could say. I'm so tired of it. Anyway, Hillary's no slam dunk. Very, very interesting piece at Politico Magazine. Tell the folks why.
Well, I was stimulated to write it because of all the magazine cover stories and news articles basically crowning her the Democratic nominee and in some cases the next president. Hey, we're 2 years away from the primary starting. We're almost 3 years away from the general election. It's way too soon for a coronation. That was my major point in the piece, and I used history to show how things can develop very quickly, and the fact that there's only one other case of someone actually following through and becoming a presidential nominee easily, projected early in advance, who wasn't an incumbent. And that person, of course, was Richard Nixon in 1960.
Right.
The 8th vice president for Eisenhower.
And, of course, well, the advantage Hillary has over that is she doesn't have the 5 o'clock shadow going.
Yeah,
no, but
she has no 5 o'clock shadow. That's absolutely true. She is shadowed by her husband, though.
Well, well, a great point, by the way, on Nixon. But let's talk about Bill. You talk about how you saw them both at the de Blasio inauguration. He swore in Bill de Blasio. Hillary sat there on the stage and didn't say anything, but nodded with every radical leftist view that de Blasio put forward. And as Harry Belafonte talked about plantations in New York, I mean, she sat there and she nodded. I mean, is that what she's trying to do? Establish herself as one of these far leftists?
Well, you know the Clintons well. In fact, we all do. I think one reason why people sit in front of the TV set and chuckle when they come on is we know them, we know their game, we know their angles, and they always have an angle. And in this particular case, it is trying to move far enough to the left prior to the primaries in 2016 to cut out of the picture candidates from the left who might challenge her. That's how she lost in 2008 to Barack Obama. So they're trying to take as much of the left ground as possible prior to the primaries.
Yeah, and I see where Priorities USA is now raising money for Hillary for 2016. Let me ask you about another possible presidential candidate, and that is Chris Christie, of course, on the other side. And Chris Christie, again, very early, but has polled as probably Hillary. You don't think much of his chances going forward, do you?
Well, I think it's not so much the recent scandals, quote-unquote scandals. It's more that Chris Christie doesn't have a lot of base support. He has the support of the establishment and the party elites because they simply look at an election in terms of winning and losing, which is a reasonable thing to do, but still they don't consider issue positions as closely as activists in the base do. And Chris Christie does have some moderate positions, and the base also remembers his embrace of Barack Obama the week before the 2012 election. So I've never thought of him as much of a front runner, and indeed the polls really don't show him to be a front runner.
Yeah, I'm with you, and I live in the state, and I was a big supporter of Christie. In fact, Christie and his two Republican opponents had their final debate the first go-around in my studio at WOR at the time, and I loved Chris Christie, and then he just, as a conservative, he disappointed me, and I could just list the items, one by one, and there are many, many of them, culminating with the latest one where I am now paying discounted tuition for illegals to go to Jersey schools because apparently Christie, who says he was never against this, which is contrary to popular belief, he says we just could never afford it before. So from that, I take that he's found money. And I don't know where he found it because my taxes keep going up.
Maybe under the bridge, Steve.
Very good, very good. Now let me ask you: do you want to weigh in on this Wendy Davis controversy that's going on? We had Tom DeLay on before, and I'd love to hear your opinion on this. And I said, he was talking about how she doesn't represent Texas, and she stands for nothing that Texans stand for as a whole. And yet, when I said, so no way she could win, he says, well, I'm not ready to say no way. And he went on to talk about the Democratic machine, how their primary focus is going to be to turn Texas blue and how they're well organized, well funded, and he knows what they're capable of, and he wouldn't rule out that somehow she could win. So if you'd weigh in on that, and also, you know, the what should be a scandal with her lying on her biography, lying under oath, and now these people associated with her, you know, making fun of her opponent who's in a wheelchair.
Well, look, you know, Congressman DeLay knows Texas politics 20 times better than I do. But I'll tell you, at the crystal ball, we have never had the Texas governor's race out of the safe Republican category. Now, look, you know, if you want to go 10, 20 years down the pike, yes, because of the growth of the Hispanic vote in Texas, I think Texas will become more two-party competitive. But it isn't going to happen in 2014. Look, she doesn't have enough of a base to win. She'll have plenty of money, but you have to have the votes. You have to have the base. And as far as her misstatements about her past, I've said many times, if you're going to base your campaign on your personal narrative, make sure it's an accurate narrative. And that's her problem. You know, there are pieces of that aren't accurate. You know what people have focused on, Steve, more than anything else? It's the fact that she filed for divorce from her second husband the day after he paid the final tuition increment at Harvard Law School.
I know. And after he cashed in his 401k for that too.
Yes, there are a lot of men who've done that, as you and I both know. Women put them through law school, medical school, whatever, and then they get through and they say bye-bye and get a trophy wife. Well, this sounds like the same thing in reverse.
In reverse, yeah. All right, Larry, great to talk to you, sir. Always love talking to you. Thank you very much.
Enjoyed it, Steve. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Larry Sabato, ladies and gentlemen, director of the University of Virginia Center for Politics and the author of The Kennedy Half Century here on the Steve Malzberg Show. All right, yeah, I hope he's right. I think he's right. Tom DeLay, for whatever reason, wasn't ready to say no way. But Larry Sabato is and did say no way to Wendy Davis in 2014. Jennifer Rubin, the Right Turn blog author at the Washington Post, will join us when we come back. Steve Malzberg Show right here. You know what, you love it. Newsmax TV and radio.